Welcome to another edition of Friday with the Family presented by the OSU Alumni Association. I am your host, Jessica Maury, and we've got a very special guest for you today. If you've been to any Cowboy football games, you're going to know this guy, Mr. Orange Power. Lee Redick himself is joining us today. I feel a little underdressed.
Hey, Jessica! How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too. I left my orange jumpsuit at home, and I should have worn it.
I've got a spare. You want me to go get it?
Yes, please do. I'll wear it tomorrow to the game. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that you can submit questions to us via the Ask the Question button if you're participating in our ALC webinar, or on Facebook. If you're watching live, you can also submit questions there as well. So first question, we obviously all know you as Mr. Orange Power, but tell us a little bit more about Lee Redick.
I'm from Sepulpa, and me and my best friend, we decided to go to OSU, room together. We've been best friends for 45 years. That's Steve Law, and I was really good in math. Graduated 7th out of 360, and I thought I knew what I was going to do, and was going to be a computer systems analyst. And I got there, and I didn't really fit in, and I was looking around the room. I'm like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And it was like, it just didn't feel right. And then so I switched majors, went to, electrical engineering technology, EET. And then, that was even worse. And then didn't know what to do, jumped back to computer science, and I was just frustrated. And my mom said, well, when in doubt, take business classes. So I was kind of late to the party, and got a 7:30 accounting class. And I definitely didn't want to do that. Nothing wrong with accountants, but that's not what you want me doing. And so I was, there was a guy, and I haven't found him. I've been trying to, if anybody out there knows Lyndall Chapman, and he's from Pryor Creek, Oklahoma. I remember I was on Curve 4, and I was just almost in tears. I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. I can't find anything that, excites me. And Lyndall goes, well, I'm a RTVF major. And I'm like, well, what's that? It's radio, TV, and film. And I'm studying to be a DJ. And I go, you go to college to be a DJ? And he goes, I'm having a blast. And so I switched over, and I loved it. It just, everything took off. It all made sense. And I really have to thank OSU, because I learned something starting back in 1984, and I'm still doing it today. I'm working at Channel 9, the Griffin Communications, which is Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and we've got 3 TV stations in both markets, a digital outdoor network, lots of digital platforms, and we're literally one of the last 5 family-owned broadcasting companies in the country. So I'm very fortunate and just blessed to be where I'm at.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I worked in TV too, so shout out to everyone in TV news. We got to stick together. But what was your first OSU football game?
Oh, well, it would be in 81. I was actually in the band. So whatever that first 1981 September, I played trombone. This is a funny story. Back then, when I was a freshman, we had our director was Paul Montemuro, and he was a fiery Italian, and I messed up. I don't know what, but all of a sudden, and he didn't know my name. I'm a freshman, and all of a sudden, this hand comes out. He's on one of those big, what do you call them? The big towers. He's standing up there and directing. He stops everything, and a hand comes out, and he goes, "You 3 down from Phil. Come here." And that was me. So I was 3 down from Phil in band back in 1981. Wow. I don't know what the game was. I can't remember.
Well, I think it was September 19th was the first game against Tulsa, and OSU won 23-21. So that was a close game. That was a good one to be at.
There you
That
go.
was a good one to be at. Okay, so you went to the games as a student, obviously, but when did you become Mr. Orange Power? How did that all come to be?
Well, we left in '87 to go to North Carolina. Nelson Durfee was a dear friend of mine and still is, and he was the engineer at my first radio station, KBRO on the Strip, which was back then, down in the alley next to Coney Island. That's why I love Coney Island so much, because I ate 2 cheese conies, an order of tots, and a Pepsi every day. But anyway, Nelson and his family built a TV station out in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and they needed a sports anchor. So he called me up, and it worked out. And I went to North Carolina to be a sports anchor, and I worked with the whole family there, and that includes Kendall Durfee. He was one of the members, remember the 10. He was the engineer flying back from Colorado that didn't make it. So that's why I always wear the remember the 10 button here on the uniform. But went to North Carolina, and then down to Augusta, Georgia, and then moved back to Tulsa. And then when I was in Tulsa, we bought a house in Swan Lake, and in the basement there was this leftover hunting suit. Now it was one of those insulated. The old one, the original, was a fluorescent insulated suit. It was really, really hot in September, even October. But I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to wear. And I took it to, there's a place on a Memorial in Tulsa, just south of the BA. It's a OSU OU place. And I got to know them kind of well. And I had all these old OSU patches. And I said, I want to look like Elvis meets NASCAR. So they, put them all over and add a little orange power and a big orange power on the back. And so all I needed was a sign. So it's like, I made a sign, and I was ready to go. But that wasn't the first time I ever did it. I used to sit there and just yell orange by myself, because when I moved back in '95, the university stopped doing orange power. They told me they thought it was old fashioned and it took too long. And it does take too long. I mean, it's hard to get going unless you know exactly when and where to do it. But so I would just sit there and yell orange. And we were at the Kemper Arena, and this was back in '97. And this is when we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 4 days. No one's ever won all 4 days. And we had Brian Martinati, and Doug Gottlieb, and Desmond Mason. That was that team. And I was getting ready to yell. We were on the last row, upper deck, and I was getting ready to yell orange. And my wife finally just stopped me and said, hey, why don't you go ask people to do it with you? You're just scaring them. So I ran down. There's a bunch of old, they're the old alumni who is my age now. But so I asked, hey, you want to do orange power? And everybody said, yeah, let's do it. So we waited until we had a free throw, and it was done. There was a little patch of orange on the other side. And it took right off. So we spent 4 days doing orange power. And on Sunday, when we bought our rings, we got married, and we bought our rings on the plaza, if you can see that. And so when we came around Sunday, we got a standing ovation. And then we bought the house, and then the jumpsuit was in there. I was like, well, I know what I'm wearing to the game. So it just all kind of happened, and we're just trying to have a little fun is what we're doing.
Yeah, it is super fun. And you have these iconic chants, the Orange Power chant that you do at all of the games now. And you kind of talked about how you come up with them. But is there a specific time during the game when okay, this is when I got to start it?
Jessica, thank you. This is one of my most passionate things I'm trying to educate, because orange power, it's loud and, it's fun. But, there's strategy behind it. What we're trying to do is get the ball back. And what I've learned is if you'll go ahead and do orange power when they have the ball and it's second and long, I'll get up. If you see second and long, I'll get up, start doing orange power. And what'll happen, we've had people burn timeouts. It gets our defense up and going. And we take a second and long, turn it into a third and long. The crowd takes over on a third down. We get the ball back. That's the goal. And if there's any students watching, they do a great job on orange power, but they tend to do it while we're on offense. You need to switch that up and do orange power when we're on defense. The goal is to get the ball back.
Yes, got to be quiet when the offense is on the field. Got to keep it as quiet as possible so you can hear the play calls and everything. So what, you've been going to OSU games for forever. Do you have a favorite memory with Cowboy football? I mean, I'm sure you have a ton, but do you have one that's just number one?
Yeah, well, one of my favorites was when we joined the Big 12. We were kind of the lower part of the middle pack. And, getting to that top and maybe getting to the bottom rung of the top echelon, we had the hardest time getting past Texas A&M, and it drove me nuts. We couldn't beat them. And I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure it was 1990. No, it was 2002, the A&M game. And we went up, and there was like a minute left in the game. And A&M was marching it down the field. And that was the only time I'd ever left and went to that middle concourse area. And it was like we were doing orange power on every single down because I was like, we have got to win this game. And that's the one Vernon Grant, rest his soul, caught the interception. And we finally beat A&M since we joined the Big 12. That was, and I ended up in the section in the northeast section of Boone Pickens Stadium, and that's where I met the Wagons Ho folks. They're up there, and when we do the first down and 10 cheer, they actually are doing Wagons Ho, and it's an old cheer, even older, I think older than Orange Power. So we'll say hello to the Wagons Ho folks.
That's awesome. I hadn't heard the Wagons Ho folks. That's a good
they're up there.
And do you ever go on the road as Orange Power, or do you stick to BPS?
I used to. I mean, I remember one year I went to, I think it was 10 games, and we were living in Springfield at the time. We had season tickets to basketball and football, and that was a lot of driving. We were a lot younger back then, and as I'm, getting more seasoned, I tend to be a little more selective, and I'll try to catch one or two road games a year, but we won't miss a home game.
Oh yeah, cannot miss a home game. And this season,
and the tailgates are almost better than the games. I mean, when we started, we literally parked across the street on the north side and walked over.
Yeah.
And then the Sturgeon family, Scotty Sturgeon built this huge cooker. And we started tailgating. No one was doing that back then. And all of a sudden, it was like a magnet. Everybody started coming in. And then all of a sudden, people started trying to outdo everybody. And like, you look at what we were doing back there in the mid-'90s compared to what it is today. I'm very proud of our homecoming. I'm very proud of our tailgating. We have nothing to be ashamed of. If you compare our tailgating, it holds up to anybody else around the country.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you start cooking some food, people are going to come. I mean, it's like if you cook it, they will come. They just smell it, and that's
the alcohol doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt either. I did miss that walking over to the game against Tulsa from the media parking garage on Monroe. I missed, there's no tailgating, so that was kind of, not as exciting. It was a little bit more quiet. It didn't smell as good, but I was just happy there was football. What are you looking forward to most this season? Obviously, things are different with every game and the less fans, but hopefully we get to play out the full season. What are you looking forward to the most? And then also, are you still in the same spot during the games, or have you moved, or where can fans find you on Saturdays?
We're in the same spot. It's between the 35 and 40, and there's those two little box seats that are right there on the front row. And it opened up, and Diane gave my wife and me a call and said, "Hey, these two seats are open." And I was like, "Oh, we hadn't budgeted for that." And I looked at my wife. She's like, "You can't let those go." And so we got those. And then now our cousin, Mrs. OP's cousin, Crystal, she sits behind us. So we still have our same seats, but that's where we're at. But the one thing I try to encourage people is Holder has done such a great job building this athletic village and doing it in a responsible way, getting the money and making sure that we're sound, as a university. And Ann Greenwood and her husband, Michael. And I tell you, Coach Chris Young is one of my favorite coaches of all our coaches.
Mm-hmm.
He is fabulous. And what he's putting on, the product that he's putting out on the field, I mean, look up the tennis schedule and go watch our girls and guys play. And try to look at I try to do posts because Larry over at Equestrian, sometimes you can catch, they start early. I think they start like at 10 a.m. But
Mm-hmm.
you can go over and catch some Equestrian, and it's a long day. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. But I like the let's see, it's the English where they're jumping over the fences. I haven't caught the reining where they come screeching in and pulling on the brakes. And the Western, I'm not really sure at what I'm looking at, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, the girls are rowdy. They'll start Orange Power. They're a lot of fun. But you can go and do Equestrian. It's free. Bring the kids. And then go over and then Chris, they'll have pizza. They'll have free pizza come in, and they'll do pizza after the doubles, and then they'll do a spirit run, and then a lot of times after the tennis, you can catch a baseball or softball game. Mm-hmm. So you can spend all day in Stillwater. It's not just, I love going to basketball games. Oh, Coach Mike is like one of my favorites too. He is like
great.
The mayor of Stillwater.
Yes.
And Boynton is like, we are very blessed to have him as a head coach. And he is a fabulous person. And I wish one of my favorite stories was I was at the Cowgirls soccer. They were starting out this was like 3 years ago, maybe. And I think it was Sunday night. We had a game. So I ran up there and was watching and it's a great facility, fabulous. And I was in the end zone with the rowdy guys. What are they called? The Outlaws? Mm-hmm. Great fans at OSU soccer, the Outlaws. But I saw Coach Mike coming in, and he has a little crowd. He has the around. I said, I've got to go talk to him because this is when we ran over to Italy, played some ball, did real well. And I just wanted to know what the food was like and what he ate. So I ran over there, and we were having a nice conversation, and we had a Thursday night game, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, where are you going to be at the game? And he goes, or I said, are you going to the game Thursday? He goes, yeah. I go, where are you sitting? And he goes, well, I'm kind of all over the place. He's a social butterfly. He's got to make the rounds, and he's really good at people want to talk to him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you've got to come down to my seat. And it was like all of a sudden I had this idea, and I grabbed him. I used a couple of profanities, and I was like, you have got to start Orange Power. And he was like, what? And I'm like, Coach, I'll give you the sign. I'll show you how to do it, and we'll do Orange Power together. And it was so much. And he's a hoot. He did a great job. He even stuck around and did the first down and 10 cheer. And it's like, he's in shape. You kind of, you're sitting there, you pat him on the back, and it's like, ooh, mine doesn't feel like this,
Yeah, Coach Boynton is fantastic. I think like you said, we're very lucky to have him. He's a great
hire.
Yeah, great coach, even better guy.
It's softball. One of my favorite. Now, I wish we could have gone to the new stadium. I'm really looking forward to that. But one of my favorite things to do was go to the softball game. And on the south side, on the very last row, you could stand and you can watch softball, and then turn around. If we have a baseball game going at the same time, you could watch both. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. But what Kenny Gajewski is, remind me to tell you this story. This is a funny story. I was at one of the tennis matches, and I don't know if this has ever been done before, but Coach Chris Young, the women's tennis coach, was out on the field. They're in play. He texts a buddy. I'm standing behind Ann Greenwood. I like to stand by, right behind her. She's got a good seat. I don't want to sit down. I like to move around a little bit.
She's a good person to be around.
Next to her and Michael, and then John Smith comes in and stands next to me. So I think he had that. He was going to do some on-air work for NBC when they were down in Rio for the Olympics. So we were talking about that, and all of a sudden I get this, hey, there's a guy on the front row hands me his phone, and it's Coach Chris, and I look at it, and it says, Mr. Orange Power standing right behind you. Have him start the cheer. And I show it to John Smith, and I go, John, you want to help me do Orange Power? And he was like a little kid. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I grabbed John, and I said, let's go over towards the middle, and we'll get, kind of a balance thing going there. And boom, we run into Kenny Gajewski. And I'm in sales. This was not a hard sell. And I go, Coach G, me and legendary coach John Smith are getting ready to do Orange Power. Do you want to help us? And he goes, yeah, let me grab my girls. And he brought the softball team, which they helped support the tennis team. Yeah. So I got to direct John Smith, Kenny Gajewski, the softball team in Orange Power at a tennis match while the coach was in play, and he pulled it up. That was one of my favorite. It was like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Both those guys, John Smith and Coach Gajewski, both great people we have here. Also great hires and great, great to have them here as well. Let's see, what's something that the Cowboy family might not know about you?
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of out there. I mean, Christy and I have been married since 99. Well, I mean, I'm kind of an open book.
Well, what is Mrs. Orange Power think about all your notoriety within the Cowboy family?
She loves it. Matter of fact, one of her favorite things to do is, back in the old days when I first started out, we didn't have a lot of people wearing orange, and the girls were really bad about it. I would kind of encourage, and I'd get, I don't look good in orange. But now it's like everybody wears orange, and it's the best thing. But back then, my wife would like to walk a couple of paces behind because apparently people would turn and stare. It's not such. I've been doing it for so long. It's kind of there's Mr. OP, and it's not that big of a deal. But she used to like to watch other people looking at me, and it was kind of funny.
That's awesome. This is not a question, but Austin says he remembers the feeling of hearing the Orange Power chant for the first time. He said it was great stuff. So that's awesome. And then Tyler asked, do you have a favorite memory of a player or coach interaction that you had? That's kind of what you just told us about Chris Young and John Smith and Kenny Gajewski. You kind of got all three of them in one foul swoop there.
Here's a good one. I like this one. Let's see, I wrote the date down. I want to make sure I get the right date. Yeah, it was 97. And we started out going 4-0 against Texas and 5-0 against Colorado. Is that right? 4-0 Texas, 5-0 against Colorado. And I just bought my seats, and I was so excited. I jumped out on the field and ran out on the field with the guys. And I bumped into R.W. McQuarters. And what makes this story interesting was 6 months earlier, if you remember back in the old days in Driller Stadium when we used to have Bedlam baseball, it was real hard to get tickets. And I never could get a good seat. And what they did is they opened up seats for their season ticket holders. And then they had what was called block seat buyers. They'd buy a whole bunch of them and then, sell them to their friends or whatever. So I became a block buyer. And I would buy, 100 tickets there on the third base line, and I got a call. My tickets were ready to pick up. So I drove up there. And back then I had this little Miata. It was a black with orange interior. It was beautiful. My license plate said OSU 1 fan. And I lost that license plate when we had to move to Missouri. So someone out there's an OSU 1 fan. That was mine. You're welcome. But anyway, so I'm sitting there in my car, and I was on the phone, and this guy walks up to you. Now, when you're in a Miata, you're sitting kind of low, so they look really tall. And so I'm on the phone, and he's standing there the whole time. And when I get off the phone, I was like, "Can I help you?" And he goes, my name's R.W. McQuarters. I saw your license plate. I just wanted to meet you. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Art. And it was like trying to find a napkin or something. We just wanted to get his autograph. So, and he was the nicest guy. We sat there and chatted, whatever. 6 months later, I'm jumping over the wall, running out onto the field. Now, I'm not doing Orange Power. He wouldn't know me for jack in the stands.
Yeah.
And so I'm running in, high-fiving people, blah, blah, blah. And then, boom, I ran into the old Channel 2 guys. They're like, Lee, what are you doing out here? And then all of a sudden, R.W. shows up, and he's like, Lee, what are you doing out here? And R.W. remembered my name from 6 months earlier, meeting him one time. But great guy. Loved him. Glad he got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always, whenever anyone remembers your name, especially these athletes and these coaches remember your name, that just means so much. I think that's a lot of our athletes are great at that. So that's fantastic. And then we've got one last question here from James. He says, do you plan on retiring in Stillwater?
Well, you know what? That's a good question. I may, because the one thing about, you can get one of those all season passes and they're not expensive. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of my friends have retired there. Mm-hmm. And, when you retire, what are you going to do? You got a lot of time to fill. There's a lot of sports in Stillwater. And like I said, you've got, women's basketball, men's basketball, golf. We're women's golf are playing down here in Norman. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen, we got a nice cross-country track that they've cleared out. I haven't been out to there, so there's just so much to do there. So, yeah, I sure might.
Yeah. Speaking of cross country, next Saturday they are hosting the Cowboy Jamboree out at the cross country course. So that gets started around 8 a.m., I believe. Is
that the new one?
Yep, at the new course. Yeah,
okay.
It's pretty nice. We've been out there. It's pretty. I don't know if I would know what a bad cross country course looks like, but it looks really pretty to me. So it looks nice. So I follow the irrigation guys on Twitter, and they do a fabulous job. Yes.
When you see what they do with just all our fields, especially the baseball field, and you see Carson Creek. I mean, those guys are fabulous.
Yeah, extremely important guys. You might not think about it, but they're very, very important for the facilities to work. So those are all of our questions. So thank you, Lee, so much for taking the time to join us. And do you have any final thoughts for our
Let's go, Cowboys! Beat West Virginia!
I love it. I love it.
Orange Power early and often tomorrow.
All right, fans, you hear that early and often.
And I was very proud of you guys. That was a loud Orange Power for a bunch of guys in mass.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. So again, Orange Power, loud and early, starting tomorrow when Cowboy football hosts West Virginia. That is at 2:30. You can catch that game on ABC. And if you want to check out all the new digital game day features coming to you from the Alumni Association, you can do that at orangeconnection.org/athletics and also on the Orange Connection mobile app. And then tonight, a huge top 10 matchup at Neil Patterson Stadium. I'm telling you, you do not want to miss this. Number 6 Oklahoma State hosting number 4 West Virginia. The Cowgirls are 2-0, looking to make it 3-0. This could be, basically the Big 12 championship game. So you guys are going to want to get out to MPS and cheer on the Cowgirls. If you can't, you can listen to it on stillwaterradio.net. You can also catch it on ESPN+. We will be broadcasting that game for you guys as well. And then our next Friday with the family is October 9th when the Alumni Association's Joy Fieldson will join us to talk about the traveling Cowboys program. And you can learn more and register at orangeconnection.org/travel. And while you're browsing, be sure to check out the Alumni Association's new membership model and claim your credit toward a life membership. You can learn more at orangeconnection.org/life. Thank you again for joining us today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and wear orange. Mr. Orange Power.
Thank you, Jessica. You do a great job. Thank you for all the work that you do. You do a fabulous job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think you got to take us out with some cowbell here. I have my first cowbell.
Let's go!